Okay, we're here. We're live. It's Friday. Thank God. Another edition of Green Rush Live. Hi, everybody. I'm Jimmy Young with Pro Cannabis Media. As always, every Friday, I'm joined by. Oh, he did it again. You know, one of these days, David's going to start talking and have his mute off so that when I cue him, we won't laugh at him flapping his gums. But that's a great way to start the show. Hi, David. Now he's doing it on purpose, right? Because if he isn't doing it on purpose, no, David, we don't hear you. But Max Shapiro is with us. And you know what, David? You take the rest of the day off. Go ahead. I'll take over. I'm pretty comfortable with this. Max Shapiro is with us. He is the founder and CEO of PeopleConnect and also the PitchForce, not to be confused with the Pitchfork. Max, how are you? Where are you? And what's going on out there?
I'm great. I'm in San Francisco. I'm in the Bay Area in Marin County, San Rafael to be exact, about a mile away from where 420 actually got started in front of San Rafael High School. And I was driving by there about a half hour after the time, but it was it's a great place to be. And Jimmy, I got a great idea for you and David and everybody else. If you want to make a lot of money, figure out how that people don't get stuck with the mute button on when they're trying to talk. Get Zoom to put it up where the hell it belongs so it's not hidden so this doesn't happen.
Wow, it's great to have two comedians on with me.
Well, you're such an easy target, David. You know, it's okay. It's pretty funny. And we knew that, by the way, we knew the mic was on because we heard one of your dogs barking in the background. Okay. So there you go.
Jimmy, to get back to your question, PeopleConnect is a very unique recruiting firm. I say we're the most unique recruiting firm in the world, which is how the hell can a guy make a statement like that? But it's because we're in our 21st year of business. And about 19 years ago, after the dot-com bust, when people couldn't get jobs and companies weren't hiring, I came up with the idea, maybe we can find some people who will work for equity only, people who will work without a paycheck for 3 months or so until a company raises its seed round or its A round. And we've been doing that part of our business for 19 years. And it's about 20% of what we do, working in cannabis and non-cannabis. And then the other thing that makes us unique is unlike other recruiting firms that will only place COOs or a VP of engineering, we fill any position anywhere in the world at any level. And I'll give you an example for a cannabis company in Denver about a year and a half ago. We placed a COO, a VP of sales, and a financial analyst, 3 people at very different levels in different areas. And so it's I love what we do on the connecting side. I was formerly a scout in the NBA. I scouted for the San Diego Rockets and the Phoenix Suns. And what my team is doing is we're going out looking for people that are superstars, people that are head and shoulders above everybody else. So a little different form of scouting. And then our PitchForce events, we run once a month where 8 to 10 companies looking for either their seed round or their A round pitch to a distinguished panel of judges and investors, both people from VCs, angels. We usually have 2 or 3 members of ArcView on there, as well as individual angel investors and VCs.
Has Jeff Finkel ever been a celebrity guest of yours?
Jeff has. I just had a Zoom call with Jeff and with Gene Sullivan this morning. I love them both. They're great.
We grew up in the same town. We spent the summer together at camp.
So, wow.
It is a small world. It's pretty funny. We have a lot of mutual friends, as you can imagine. And then I will be playing the Do You Know game, but I'm going to wait because I was a sportscaster for 25 years. So you're going to know people that I know for sure. And one in particular, but I'm just going to leave it at that because let's focus on the cannabis thing right now.
Novel concept.
What's that?
Novel concept. We're going to focus this show on cannabis.
Oh, was that a slam
cool.
on me? How many times?
No, not at all. You're the host, Jimmy. I would never slam the host.
I may bring up sports, but I'm not focused on it right now. This is the week of 420, David. And this guy, and Max just said he lives right down the street from where the Waldos used to hang out. That's real. That's history in cannabis.
Max, you just became like in the tight circle of Jimmy's best friends. I don't even get into that circle.
I love it.
And
I want to know, is the Louis Pasteur statue still there?
It is.
Why would it go anywhere, right?
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah.
And do people actually like hang out there? Do they like flock to that? Is there
I
like a
don't think that they
pilgrimage?
do anymore. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
so.
didn't think so. They're all, and those guys are, let's see, 71 high school. So they're 68, probably 69 years old at this point. But I do know a little history about them, and they actually turned out to be normal human beings. Hard to believe, right, Max? I mean, that it didn't rot their brains, as a young person, like a lot of prohibitionists like to think about. Let's talk about PitchForce for a second, if you don't mind. What's the format, and how would someone get involved? And I'm guessing that you have to pick and then they get to present, kind of a thing.
Correct. So anybody that's interested in presenting could just email me, max@peopleconnectstaffing.com. The format is unique in that there's real world competition. So we usually have 10 companies, and each of those companies sends us an executive summary before that we send to our judges. We have 6 judges at a PitchForce. They're looking at the executive summaries, and we start off with a 1-minute elevator pitch. No questions, no Q&A. After each 1-minute elevator pitch, panel votes on a scale of 1 to 5 how much they like the company. We keep track of the score. The second round, which is really where the value is, we only take the top 5 vote getters. Then those companies do a 4-minute PowerPoint, 4 minutes of Q&A, and about 8 to 10 minutes of feedback. The feedback is direct, it's honest, it's tough, but it's also kind. I've been in a lot of businesses, and I've never been in a business like the startup world, like Cannabis, where people are looking to help other people. So, we may not be interested in investing here, but I know somebody who I want to introduce you to. Or, this is a great idea, but you could make a lot more money and attract investors more easily if you license this technology that you have instead of trying to build a whole business around it. So they're really, really smart, caring, as I said, tough, direct, and honest feedback is what you get from PitchForce.
It's a great show. It's a great show, Jimmy. In fact, when we had Jeff Finkel on Friday a couple of weeks ago, it was 2 days prior that Jeff had been on PitchForce.
Aha! Now I get it. That's how you found out about him. Okay.
Yes.
I knew about him years ago, David. All right, you got a question for
No,
Max?
I'm talking
David?
about that's how we got to know Max. But no, Jimmy, you're doing a great job. I'm going to let you keep going. I'm going to give you a little bit more rope.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
So
what's the most? I know I got one for him.
Okay, if you
don't
got
do
one, then
that
go
to
ahead.
me. Jeepers. What is the most unique product? Perhaps something that no one has seen before that has been pitched to you, maybe recently or even over the years.
Wow. There's a company that's using CBD for a lot of vaginal issues.
Yeah.
And
I don't think okay, go ahead.
And it's, it's like for men, it's like, you take back, but it's a very well-run company with a very sharp young woman, and they're having success. All sorts of different types of companies. We did a PitchForce about 5 or 6 years ago, in person in San Francisco. I was a co-founder of an incubator in the Twitter building called Runway. And back then, it was so unsophisticated. These are guys coming down from the Emerald Triangle, which, any of the 3 of us, 1 year out of high school could have done a better job. They didn't know anything about business. But to see how far cannabis has come, the technology, the marketing, the marketplaces, hemp, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see.
David?
So how long have you been doing PitchForce?
Started about 11 years ago, in person. I can remember the last one we did before COVID hit. And that was when they're saying you can only elbow bump. And I'm a warm guy, and I want to hug the people I know. I want to shake hands with people. And it was really difficult, but we made the transition very quickly and easily, as did ArcView, by the way. And so we've been doing these at least once a week, since early in March. And we do a cannabis event every 5th week. The other 4 weeks are non-cannabis. But the beauty of COVID for us has been that by being virtual, we have companies from all over the world. I mean, we have companies from Italy, companies from Israel, companies from Australia, Switzerland, So that's really broadened our reach. And instead of having maybe 20 or 30 people in the audience, we now have 60 to 75 to 100 people, many of whom are investors, which gives the presenters a better chance of getting funding.
There you go. What's the most important thing for a new company before they're ready to pitch?
There's a number of things. I mean, and we train the companies and we've got presenter guidelines that we give them. You said I was talking about 1 minute elevator pitch, and I saw you wincing. There's actually 6 points you can cover, but a couple key things is tell me, what is the why? Why are you doing this business? And in cannabis, more than anything else, so many people, I was suffering with this, I was suffering with that, I was on opioids. Thank God I got off of them. I was depressed. My psychiatrist said I need to take another antidepressants. And this one person said this to the psychiatrist. She tried, she gave him the finger figuratively and went and tried a THC and CBD, and it changed her life. So what is the why? Don't spend 3.5 or 4 minutes telling me about your product and your technology. We get that. Just spend a little bit of time. Here's the problem. Here's our solution. But tell me about your go-to-market strategy. How are you going to market this? The one thing that most investors don't think, most entrepreneurs don't think about when they're making a pitch is WIIFM. What's in it for me? If you're pitching, I'm catching. Think about the catcher sometimes. I want to know if I invest 50,000 or 100,000, if somebody invests $1 million from their fund, they want to know what's the likelihood of their getting a return and when. And don't tell me you're going to IPO, because very few companies are going to IPO. It's going to be an M&A. What kind of contacts do you have with people that might acquire you? Who are those companies? And then the ask. And with the ask, when you're setting a price, if it's a price round or even if it's a convertible note, you need to be reasonable in that figure. I mean, we saw a company yesterday that their pre-money should have been 4 or 5 and they were at 8 or 10. And what I tell inexperienced entrepreneurs when they clearly don't have the answer, when I say, are you going to do a convertible or a price round? And there's a long pause because they don't know. I said, look, why don't you try this? Why don't you say, we're just getting started. And we haven't set a price yet. But what I'm trying to do as the entrepreneur is create a win-win for you as the investor and me as the entrepreneur. Let's sit down and work out something that's reasonable.
That sounds like a plan in itself. The only reason why I winced on the elevator pitch thing is I know that I thought the length of the perfect elevator pitch is 15 seconds.
That's a fast elevator. That's a super high speed elevator. 15 seconds.
How many floors? How many floors you going up or down in that elevator? Right?
Depends on where you are. Yeah.
15 seconds allows a follow up question too. A
Yes.
minute, you're at the ground floor. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And that is something I do teach, but we'll talk about that later. David.
Yes, Jimmy. So another question from me.
Yes.
Let me look on my list of questions.
Very good. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so what percentage of PitchForce is cannabis at this point?
So it's about 20%. 1 out of 5 are cannabis. The others are not. And we're really running the gamut on companies that are just getting started, looking for $500,000. The companies that are looking for $8 or $10 million. We had a company yesterday called Pot and Pans. Great name, Pot and Pans. And what they want to do is create boxes that you order 5 meals or 3 meals per week. It gets sent to you, just like all those delivery services, with cannabis, with CBD now and with THC in the future. Really interesting idea.
We've got one in Massachusetts already, Dinner at Mary's. And the entrepreneur was on the show. God, I can't believe it. It was only 6 months ago. It feels like 6 years ago.
Okay.
As we all know, this has been the longest time of our lives
Yes.
over the last 14, 16 months or so. I do want to ask you about your staffing side of things, even though I think most people are, certainly interested in the pitch and what kind of products and that sort of thing. But because of the growth of the industry, there are now more jobs in cannabis than there are electrical engineers in this country. And there's going to just be more and more jobs as more and more legal states come on board. Takes states a year to 2 years just to kind of ramp it up. And then it takes another year or 2 years from there to actually see it prosper, or at least evolve into a more mature industry. What's the ideal candidate for in cannabis? And I'm going to start, I guess, on the dispensary side. Is it a retail background? Is it just someone who has great knowledge? Do they have to take an online course? Can you walk us through someone or someone or something that would be the ideal candidate in the cannabis space?
So first and foremost, cannabis or non-cannabis, we tell our clients, we are not going to send you anybody that doesn't have startup experience. You need to, in the startup world, the joke is, you've worked a 40-hour a week when it's lunchtime on Wednesday. So, people have, and someone said, well, I worked at Cisco for 30 years and the last 3 years was in this small entrepreneurial division. And I get it. No, you don't. So it's got to, if we're not talking about this hourly dispensary workers, but if we're talking about a COO or a VP of biz dev, or even a chief technology officer, someone has to know what it's like to be involved in the startup world. Add to that, experience in cannabis, is a plus for a lot of jobs, but a lot of times it's just, we've made a marketing placement for a company, an online marketplace, and they wanted somebody that had great CPG experience. Now, being familiar with the cannabis world certainly helped, but they were open to people without cannabis experience. It really runs the gamut. You're right. I mean, the number of jobs, the number of companies hiring is just amazing. We placed a CFO about 6 months ago for a distribution company here in Northern California and under our employees without paychecks model. And he's not making a dime until they close on the fundraising that he's leading for the company. And they're just about 45 days away from that. So, all different types of jobs, different levels. If people want to get into cannabis sales and they've been in insurance for 35 years in some staid company, that's going to be tough. But, it's startup experience, having the drive in your belly, it doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, you could be 60 years old and shot your best shot already, or you could be, be 60 years old and have a lot of piss and vinegar left. And you want to go out with one big bang. So age isn't the factor, but drive, motivation is, and experience and working more than a 40-hour week.
Yeah, absolutely. David, you got anything else for Max?
How about 61, Max? What if you get 61 and you haven't shot your last bullet?
You got it. You guys got plenty of firepower. I can see that.
We're pretty passionate about what we're doing, and not just on the 2 hours on Friday that we spend together. The other hours during the week are pretty crazy busy, and it's always kind of remarkable when David and I actually set a time to talk, and we're both available at that time when we set it up maybe a day or two in advance, because as an entrepreneur, just having control of your schedule can be difficult because you're constantly putting out fires. Accurate?
Very much so. Very much so. Yes.
I'm dying to ask you about your scouting. Okay. I just have to ask one sports question, David. Okay. You can put yourself on mute if you want. All right.
No, Max, he won't be able to get off mute if you put him on mute.
That's okay too. No, I'm only kidding. You obviously know the game of basketball from the days when I went and watched Bill Russell play in the 60s. Okay. I got to see Bill Russell play more times live than I got to see Larry Bird play live, except Larry was on TV and Bill Russell was in person. The game has changed from an outside in game to an inside out game. I don't think it's as appealing as it used to be, although the performance that Steph Curry put on at the Boston Garden last Saturday night was one of the most amazing shooting displays in basketball history, as far as I'm concerned. What's your feeling about inside out, outside in?
I love the new game, and I have to just digress for a minute. I was the water boy for the St. Louis Hawks, and I was one of the 13,303 on April 13th, 1957, at the Boston Garden when the Celtics won in double overtime. Bill Russell's rookie year, Tommy Heinsohn's rookie year, when Heinsohn went for 37, Russell made a big shot that won the game.
That's right.
The game has changed. The athletes are different. What Steph Curry has created, he's a generational player. As great a player as he is, I think he may be a better human being. I'll give you an example. He and his wife started a foundation a couple years ago called Eat, Learn, Play. they raised enough money in that foundation where in Alameda County, Oakland is the capital of Alameda County, they served 16 million meals during the pandemic. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing what he does for the community. And he and his wife are just very special people. And he, you talk about enthusiasm and joy. He brings that to work all the time. And it just, I think those of us who love the game are really lucky to be able to watch him. And that shot in the Boston Garden, that left-handed shot he made from the 3-point line, it was insane.
I'm still laughing about it. When I saw it live, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me, really?"
Yeah,
it was great. Hey, hey, Max, I could talk to you for hours, but it's 4:20.
Yes.
And that is the time when we take our first break. We explain the Waldos at San Rafael High School back in 1971 used to meet at that Louis Pasteur statue and catch a little buzz after school until law enforcement picked up on it and then picked up on that 420 call, which meant public consumption of cannabis going on. And you better check it out on the corner of Vine and Main Street.
You got it down, Jimmy. You got all the details. That's impressive.